welcome to the latest episode of Rediscovered, my vintage story Let's Play, where I try desperately hard to not starve while also not becoming bear or wolf chow. So far, I've been pretty lucky in all three of those respects, so yay. But there's a bit more to it than all that. This is definitely much more than Minecraft, right? Minecraft can be dangerous, and if that's the case, then Vintage Story can be outright deadly. And it's not just the beasties. Not eating will kill you. The environment will kill you. Falling sand will kill you. It's pretty fun though. But the thing is this is the third episode of actually playing the game. And, we've got a little head start. We've got a cooking pot and stuff. We're not, well, I wouldn't say we're completely out of the woods as far as starvation goes, but we are much more comfortable than we were, right? And we have crops growing, so it's just a matter of time before we are out of the woods as far as starvation goes. So that's good. And while I don't have any armor, I do have enough weapons that, with the right circumstances, I should be able to handle a wolf or a bear. But what I'm working on is actually kind of the next steps, right? So I apparently have almost no inventory spots open. What's up there? Saw movement up there. So I came up here to dig out these ruins, but I don't have the inventory space to do that. It's a hare. And we will need to be hunting hares and other animals here shortly. I'll pick the easy ones off right now, but there's still so much to do to get established. I mean, we are established with a lowercase e, and we're talking about getting established with an uppercase e. So we're working on that. We've started laying the foundation of our fortified tower that will keep us safe and have room for all the various crafting and processing that we will be doing, including a forge and that type of stuff, leatherworking, as well as extensive storage facilities. And storage is a big piece, especially food storage, right? It's not just a matter of having the storage, but having a certain type of storage to maximize the storage benefit. And we're working on all that, but I need to lighten my load a little bit. But there's some of the stuff I have. First of all, I didn't realize I had this hoe still, so we can go ahead and till these fields. How much of these fields should we till? Well, the whole thing. I'm sorry. It's just going to be one of those days. I'll give you a warning now. This is sand, and I'm going to cover it up, but I don't want to cover it up. I'm going to replace it, because sand is useful stuff. Sand's useful stuff in Minecraft, sure, but it's useful stuff here for a different reason. And hopefully we'll get to some of that today. I'll show you how to pan sand. And if you don't know what panning sand means, maybe you remember your lessons about the California Gold Rush, where they talked about miners that would pan for gold. That's pretty much what we'll do with this sand, and that's important. Because here's the thing, right? Where we're at now, we are definitely in the Stone Age. I've got some flint I carry around with me. I got some sticks. All the tools I've been making are all flint, and they work, and that's great, but they don't work for long because they break. We want to get to the Metal Age, specifically copper, and to do that, we need copper, right? It's kind of hard to make a copper tool without any copper. And that's not a problem, except our primary way to get copper at the moment comes in two flavors. The one is that we find it, and that means we're walking around the overworld looking at our shoes hoping to find some surface copper. The problem with that is that you got to cover a lot of ground, and while you're busy looking on the ground for bits of native copper, you're not looking up where there could be lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. So that's dangerous. It's risky. I mean, or you could, look up, look down, look up, look down, which is probably the most practical way to go about it, but then that just slows the whole process down. The other readily available option for us is to pan for it. And that's why this sand is so important. You don't get a lot of copper that way, but you can get enough, right? And once we have enough copper for a hammer, a pick, and a prospecting pick, we have everything we need to go and find copper, and actually other metals as well, through prospecting, which is a lesson in logic and luck and patience. But it'll be worth it in time. But in the meanwhile, there's still a lot to do here. Now, I'm expanding the island, mostly because the tower I laid out takes up pretty much most of the island that exists now. But we will want to extend the island a bit, because what we'll want is we'll want to have some space for bees. Bees are incredibly useful in this game, right? They make honey, which is useful as a food, and they make beeswax, which is useful for things like candles and food preservation and blah 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 blah. So that's one thing we'll be working on, and we'll need space for that. We'll also want to set up space for growing more crops, which we're already working on, and for planting trees, because we like to have a safe supply of wood nearby. And finally, we want some space on our island that's easily defended for livestock. And the one of the first, and arguably one of the easiest to grab, is chickens. And I'm not grabbing them because they're easy. That's just lucky. I'm grabbing them because bows, I have spears now, but bows and arrows are, I think, much more useful. But if you're you can make arrows without feathers, and those arrows are not particularly useful. So, if you know anything about archery, the feathers on the arrow help control the flight, so it goes where you point it. If you don't have the feathers, then you can certainly fire an arrow, and it will certainly go with great force at whatever you aimed it at, but the chance of hitting exactly where you're aiming are close to zero. So we'll want, and chickens, they're tasty, so we'll take everything we can get. But that's probably going to be my first attempt at livestock. Now, if you remember last episode, we already did a bunch of excavating here, and want to make sure that there's nothing hazardous gonna pounce on us. We will come up to high ground where you can see a little better, or hear something coming at you. We'll need a shovel. Gonna be a lot of dirt removal. And we got lots of sticks. Once upon a time, when I was first playing this game, I had hey, there's something down there. There's a crop down there. and some stones, but it's the crop I'm after at the moment. What do we got? Oh, turnips. And that's good. I mean, you got to keep your eyes open because you'll never know what'll turn up. I'm sorry. Like I said, it's just going to be one of those days. The family and I will officially go on spring break vacation tomorrow. So today was my last day at work for a week, and I'm mighty thankful for that. Mighty thankful. So, and in case you're curious, we're going to go to beautiful British Columbia. It's just a couple hour drive from where we live. So, and our original plan is we have been hoarding our frequent flyer miles earned through our credit card, so that we were gonna use those miles to fly to Oahu. But daughter number 2 is in the Issaquah Robotics Club, and they made it to the World Championships of Robotics this year. So, and that happens to coincide with spring break, which is when we were going to go to Hawaii. So we got our miles back. We're not going to Hawaii, and we're going to pack the kid off, the younger kid off, with her classmates, and they're headed to Houston tomorrow. And then we'll take our remaining kid and go to Canada. And that's okay. I was looking forward to going to Oahu, but I'm kind of a cold weather guy. So if I had a choice, I think I would enjoy, British Columbia more than Hawaii. So, I mean, we went to Hawaii before. We went to the Big Island, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But it was I was really happy to get back home and back into a more reasonable climate. Anyway, all that said, there are extremes, and in this game, climate is a thing. It's a thing to take seriously. We're still in May, I think, about halfway through May. And when I say halfway, we're 5 days into May, but May is only 9 days long, right? All the months are only 9 days long, so we're halfway through May. But we got to prepare for winter, and we want to have decent shelter with room for holding our stuff. We want to have a lot of stuff stored, and we're not just talking food. That is the obvious one, because you don't want to starve halfway through winter. But we also want to make sure we have supplies, right? Firewood or other stuff to burn, like peat maybe. By then we hope to be smelting, right? So we want to generate tons and tons of coal, or charcoal, or find coal. And we want lots of ore, right, that we can smelt. I mean, there's never a dull moment in this world, and this is kind of true of real survival, right? People who think that, I'd love it if I didn't have a job and I didn't have to, didn't have cars or anything. We just live on the land. Well, that is a cool idea, and it certainly has some merit. But if you think you're going to be sitting in a hammock, drinking pina coladas 90% of the time, you got another thing coming. Because if you go off the grid like that, the grid supplies food, energy, shelter, water, and if you go off the grid, now you're on the hook for supplying that stuff, and that's the stuff that keeps you alive. So, instead of sitting in that hammock watching the day go by, you're going to be out there busting your butt every single day, making sure that you have enough food and everything, and a little besides, because you have no idea what fate has in store for you, right? Landslide, flooding, drought. I mean, all these things really put a damper, especially flooding, on your plans, and can, a bad situation like that can put you on the road to starvation, death, disease, all the fun stuff. So, luckily, while Vintage Story is definitely kind of laid out along those lines, it's much, much more forgiving. And that kind of leads to the surprise discovery of the century when I started playing this game, which is, while this is probably the most deadly game I've played, aside from like 7 Days to Die or something like that, this is the coziest game I've played. And, when you consider that I played a mess of Stardew Valley back in the day, that is a statement, let me just tell you. So, if you're watching this wondering, hey, should I play this game? And you're like, oh, he makes it sound so dangerous and whatever. Yeah, that's the disclaimer, right? That's the little print that the lawyers make us put at the bottom of the screen. But in truth, this is an incredibly enjoyable and relaxing game. So, and that's the tricky part. That's why it's a surprise, right? Because I would not have thought that, right? I would have thought that being on the brink of starvation day after day would be stressful. And like I said, in real life, it probably is very stressful. But here, no, it's cool. It's cool. Anyway, this is, I hadn't when I did my initial calculations of how big the tower should be, I didn't realize that, that was the right size for the tower, but I didn't realize the island was so small that the tower would take up the island and then some as it exists. So, gonna have to do some work to expand the island. But it'll be worth it. One of my goals always, this is kind of my goal, like back since day one of Microsoft, of Minecraft, is to be as independent and self-sufficient with all my resources as I possibly can be, right? So if we find something out in the wild that I can use, that's great. But if it's something that I can bring back to the base and then start producing at the base, that's better. That's way better. And that's what this farming is, right? We got things going here. So this is going well. I'm filling up the watered spaces between my crops with cattails, because those are always useful. Even, they're particularly useful on day one, but they never stop being useful. So that's good. We'll have a supply of those. All sorts of cool stuff. Throw in my vegetables. I still sometimes say it that way. There was a look at that. I had hardly anything in that bowl, and it still gave me some pretty decent health. But now I have a full bowl that will probably fill up half my bar when the time comes. So that's some good stuff, Maynard. Well, if you watch Multi-Meal commercials, you know who Maynard is. Of course, you have to watch Multi-Meal commercials when there actually were Multi-Meal commercials, like in the 70s, 80s. It's time to get some wood, cut down some of these trees. If you weren't on previous episodes or didn't watch previous episodes, let me tell you something. A little Fire Marshal Bill for you. The biggest threat to me on a regular basis are bears and wolves, right? Now, bears can spawn anywhere, so they're a pain in the butt all the time. Wolves spawn in forests. Now, we're close to the edge of a forest, and so I don't think the wolves would actually spawn here, but the thing is wolves don't just hang out in one spot. They spawn and then they move. So we're close enough to a forest that it wouldn't be too unusual to see wolves on this shore doing whatever it is that wolves do when they're not chewing on my leg. But the problem with that is that two things. I need trees and I need the wood, and those come from trees. And guess what? By definition, trees fill a forest. So that's the best source of wood, but that's where the wolves hang out, and in copious numbers. And plus, with all the trees, it's kind of hard to see the wolves, hard to see them coming, hard to even on approach. So what I like to do, as I said earlier in another episode, I like to start trimming the trees from the edge of the forest. So that's going to give me a bit more open ground that is both a buffer between me and wolf home. It's this wind, I thought was kind of getting cold, but no, it is the middle of May, so, and warm. Anyway, so the knocking down the trees will help it will help give me clear line of sight to wolves and bears if and when they come out of the woods. Also, it will give us the resources we need, including wood, and sticks, and saplings. Well, not saplings, seeds. Oh, there's some grain down there. Well, I have to go take a look. Anyway, the seeds are important because we want the trees. Oh, I already found that before. I just didn't pick it up for some reason. We will now. Anyway, the seeds are important so we can regrow trees. But when we plant the trees, I've got this huge grassland to the north of the house, and wolves, they can certainly go there, but they won't spawn there. So that's actually a better place to grow trees. So at some point we will do some terraforming and start filling up that space with growing trees, and that should give us a sustainable source of wood, and we'll need the wood. We'll especially need the wood once we can make a saw. And saw is mighty useful because right now I'm either using entire logs, or I'm chopping them to firewood, or we have sticks. That's the extent of my wood right now. But when we get that saw, we can start making planks and beams, and at that point, the whole medieval palette of architecture opens before us. And there's a lot of cool stuff we can do with that. Plus, there's a lot of crafting stuff, and that comes as a result of the saw, because those boards you can use to make things like chests, so that's important for storage. You can use to make barrels, which is important for storing liquids, but more importantly, the liquids you store are often used for crafting things like lime water and tannin and all this stuff. So then we can start doing all sorts of stuff, especially with leatherworking and hides. And leather is kind of like my next after smelting copper. Leather's my next big milestone, because leather will allow me to make leather backpacks, which I can use to replace these little reed baskets in my inventory, which will expand my inventory. And leather armor is kind of like my preferred armor. You can make, it's getting kind of dark here. You can make metal armor, right? Metal armor is what you think it is, right? Yeah, you look like a knight and you have chainmail and leggings and all that jazz. And it's good stuff. It will definitely help you, but this game, don't forget, is kind of focused on realism. And making a bunch of metal armor also means you have a bunch of restrictive stuff on your body. It makes it harder to heal. It means you use more energy running around. Means that some things that require a certain amount of dexterity or finesse, like firing a bow, it's going to get a little bit hindered. So going back to the leather armor, I think it's like the best compromise. You get some protections. You're not going to be one-shotted by bears and wolves. You might get one-shotted by other stuff. I don't know, but you won't get one-shotted by bears and wolves. But you still, and you might have some hindrances to healing and stuff, but it's going to be pretty minimal at that point. I think it's generally the best compromise. Ooh. And so we'll want that. But, you got to kill animals to get that. And if you want leather specifically, as opposed to pelts, which are like furs, then we're going to need lots of barrels. To make barrels, we need boards. To make boards, we need a saw. And for that, we need smelting and a forge. So watch this. Look at that. Half of my health with one bowl of food. And I have my final bowl of food in my inventory. So I think it might be time to, since I just emptied the cooking pot, maybe it's time to make something. So actually, let me show you something too. When you put these foods inside, look at this. 1.8 years, 1.5 years, and that's for vegetables, right? Watch what happens when you put grains in there. 17.3 years, right? So 1.8 years, 1.5 years, 17.2 years, 1.4 years, right? This is 17.3 years. Okay, that's better stuff. So this is working because the food is in a storage jar, which will protect vegetables and grains for a long time. So storage jars in technically a cellar, which is kind of like an airtight, tight space. And that's why I'm getting those absurd food preservation times. That's good stuff. So we want more of that. Plus those containers, storage vessels is what they're technically called. They hold a lot of stuff. So they're also good for holding other items. So we will do that as well. But I don't have anything on the cook pot. So we probably need to prepare, like I said, some stuff. Now, I got a little bit of grain and a bunch of vegetables. A bunch. It's not a bunch. It's very little too. But what I like to do generally is try to take the oldest of something. In this case, it doesn't really matter too much. And we will want to kind of super veg it, right? So I'm going to take 4 mushrooms and the 4 turnips, and we'll throw them in the cook pot. And we're going to make 2 servings of hefty puffball turnip stew. If I take out the turnips, it's just puffball stew, but putting the turnips back in makes it hefty. Now, like I mentioned before, there are multiple food groups, and right now I'm kind of overdosing on vegetables, which would probably surprise the hell out of my mother, but this is what it is. You got to eat what you can, and the vegetables are an important part of my food regimen at the moment. We never get to the point where we're stocking up on Twinkies and candy, so. It does get dark out here. We want to plant a torch on the wall here. Because bad things spawn in the darkness, right? And I don't need to light this place up with torches, but we do need to throw some torches out there. So we said that storage vessel was mighty nice, right? Well, we can use more of that, so we'll go ahead and craft another clay vessel. But I need some room, so I'm going to take this packed earth that I have stored, and I'm going to take some of the packed earth that's currently on the walls of my house, and I'm going to just expand things a little bit as much as I have material for. The goal here is not to make it super pretty or interesting just yet. That time will come. Not this episode. Okay. Mostly we'll need some room for these storage vessels as we finish them. Plus, I'm not so wild about sleeping so close to an open flame in a straw mattress. Yeah, call me paranoid. I'm just saying, you know, not the type of thing that they recommend in safety briefings. At some point, I will want to make a bunch of wattle fences. Well, just wattle, but and wattle is kind of like a woven block of sticks. It's the basis of wattle and daub. If you've ever seen those medieval buildings with the open timber, right? You see the timber pieces that kind of give it a nice design, right? Like in a medieval European village, and then the white part is actually wattle and daub. So you have this woven mesh of sticks in that space, and then on top of that they pack a special mixture of mud, straw, usually dung, animal poop, and maybe some other stuff, and then when that dries they whitewash it, and that's what gives it that appearance. And the wood beams look dark because they usually coat that with some type of like pitch, right? So that's why those buildings look the way they do, but they are relatively easy to make, and the material list is pretty simple and readily available for most people, and if properly taken care of, those buildings can obviously last hundreds of years because they have, right? There's buildings out there that were built 500, 600, 700 years ago. So oops, got me talking. Anyway, so good stuff, really good stuff. But what I was talking about is I need to just build the wattle, right? That woven stick fence, because I'm not using it to build houses. I'm going to use it to build shelters. Not a shelter that keeps you out of the weather, but a shelter that keeps bears and wolves from snacking on you. I'll have to show you what I mean, but basically, if you are out and about and you encounter a wolf or a bear, best case scenario, they don't notice you and you can exit the area and everything's Jake. But worst case scenario, they notice you, and then they basically try to get you, and you're going to be running. You're going to be running until you can either somehow ditch them or go someplace they can't go. And this is what I'm talking about. These shelters can be little places where you can go that they can't. And then, and if done right, you can actually put up a fight from the shelter and maybe kill them. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that I don't have any armor and I just have some basic stone spears, but under the right circumstances, I can take on a bear or a wolf. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And let me just say, taking on a bear or wolf is useful because, A, they're gone, so they won't be able to harass you any longer. That's a big plus. But unfortunately, the game will always make more. But while they're gone, once they're gone, once you kill them, you could, well, in classic RPG fashion, get their stuff. In this case, that means the meat and the bones and the furs. And wolves will get you medium furs, medium hides. That's good. That's all great for leather or furs. And bears will get you huge ones, which is fantastic. Oh, yeah, and they also give you animal fat. And animal fat is useful for a bunch of different stuff. I mean, for example, these torches can burn out, but using animal fat and a clay bowl, you could make a lantern. And the lantern never burns out, right? And they even burn underwater for some reason. But just kind of nod your head and say, yeah, I'll go with that. But so that's useful. You could apply the animal fat to raw hides, and then they cure and they become pelts, basically furs, which make fantastic clothing for winter. Because I know we're in the northern hemisphere here, right? So when winter comes, it's not shorts weather. It's definitely not shorts weather. So, there'll be snow and ice, and furs will come in pretty handy for days like that. So that's all good. And of course, once you can cure that stuff into leather, then, bear hides, huge hides, make a mess of leather. And, only goodness is going to come from that. So it's all good stuff. Plus, it makes it safer to explore. If you have these little shelters distributed across the landscape, then it's easier to go further and further afield without risking life and limb. And I left the default death behavior in place. So if you die, your stuff is scattered across the countryside where you died in classic Minecraft fashion, and but it only lasts for like 10 minutes, right? And so you kind of need to get your butt back over there to get it. And until we find I think it's called the temporal gear or something. Anyhow, it's a gear that's that same bright cyan color. Until we find one of those and use it to reset our spawn point, we will always pop back up near the world spawn. And when I say near, I mean plus or minus 50 blocks in any direction. So then you're going to have to run back to where you died. And it's entirely possible that your 10 minutes will be up before you get there. So, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to plop the storage vessels into my pit kilns. And then we're going to pop grass onto it. But I need a bunch of this cut grass. I think I'm going to need 8 or 10 stacks of cut grass per item. Oh, lost my knife. Hate that noise. Hate that noise. Okay. Then we plop in the sticks. Then we use firewood, and that's what I got these logs for. We'll just plop these in here with an axe. And and there is shaped crafting. Most of the crafting recipes are shaped. So, and some of them aren't just shaped. Even if they're a 2x2 recipe or 1x2 recipe, they sometimes they are dependent on where they are in the crafting grid. Just FYI. So, okay. We'll start stacking our firewood out here. Save us some space. We don't need to keep the back of the house bright anymore. So we can use this to kindle our pit kilns. On some things you can ignite it just by right clicking. Some other things like this you will have to control right click. That always says control right click, but I found some stuff you don't have to control, like a cooking fire, right? Fire pit. So something I think we might want to do is maybe get some more wood. I'm thinking here. What do I need to make a wooden pan? So we'll get this wood to make a wooden pan. Oh, just a block of wood and a knife. A knife? Okay. Okie dokie. So we apparently will carve a wooden pan. So I'll need a knife because I just broke mine. How do you like that, huh? I'd say it's I did a knife job. Oh my goodness. I guess the caffeine's working. So now we have a wooden pan. So what I want to do is I want to grab this bony soil. And we have the sand I've been carrying around. So let's go outside. And not stand on the fire. That just scared the snot out of me. Okay. Important safety tip, kids. Don't build a pit kiln so close to the door. It is a beautiful day, though. As I wonder if we have any aloe to treat this burn. Okay, so then you plop down the material you want to pan. And you right-click your pan on it. And you can see I grabbed a layer of this. And then we stand in the water and we pan. We just hold down the right button and pan. Now, if we're lucky, we're going to get something cool. Like we got a bone already, so that's cool. And this bony soil is interesting because, oh, well, there you go. So that's, what's it? Flax fibers. The bony soil is interesting because it, you know, the stuff that you can pan, another flax fibers. The stuff you can pan will depend on the material you're panning, and the bony soil has a unique mix that includes some interesting artifact type stuff. So it's always worthwhile. That's 3. That's like the best I've ever done with flax fibers, ever. 4? I mean, it's not like I've been doing this for years anyway, but still. What can I do with... There we go. So with the flax fibers, I can make flax twine, linen fiber pulp for paper, I presume, and candles. The twine is most... Oh, look at all the stuff we need twine for, including bows. 3 bows and 3 sticks. I mean, 3 twine and 3 sticks. Well, I got 1 twine now. And it's kind of surprising that I was able to get that so easily because I was hardly even twine. Oh, gosh. I can just see my subscriber number plummeting right now. But oh well. It is I am who I am. I won't apologize for it. We're going to need a bunch of clay too. Let's lighten the load here so we can go resource gathering. This gets easier once we get a saw. I can make a door that actually counts as ceiling properly. I can make a door right now with just sticks, but as well, first of all, if you see the door, you'd understand why it essentially counts as just one notch better than having no door at all. Plus, it has a tendency to break when you open. I mean, I might go that route anyway, but not now. I mean, once I have a proper cellar. The door is useful in that it keeps out beasties and bad guys, because bad guys apparently can't figure out how to work a door. Go figure. I mean, I've seen videos of bears knowing how to open doors, but nope. These supernatural bad guys, whatever they are not the sharpest tools in the shed. Okay. Pick up stones, and like I said, look up, look down, look up, look down. You want to see if there are copper bits or lead bits or quartz bits, though at the moment I'm only concerned about copper. Copper is our gateway to the Metal Age. Plus, looking up also will give you, hopefully, some warning when four-footed tank is in the neighborhood. The thing about the thing about hunting is in this game especially, you want to make sure that you weight the factors in your favor, right? Like if you find a deer and you just start tossing spears at it, well, the deer is gonna run straight away from you. And if you have your back to like a cliff and the grasslands are out in front of you, well, guess what? They're going to run out into the grasslands, and you're going to be chasing that deer for a month, probably all day at least. As opposed to if the deer's back is to the wall and you've got the grasslands behind you, it's still no guarantee they can run past you, but the odds are in your favor. They're going to try to run straight away from you without thinking, and that means most of the time they'll be pushing their nose. Oh, I hate that noise. They'll be pushing their nose into the cliff wall, and you'll have a much better chance at finishing them off and getting the goodies. In a channel post just recently, I was talking about how playing this game I've played it enough now that there are some thoughts and behaviors that are kind of automatic, and it kind of gets in the way of how I play the other games, right? So, for example, in my Minecraft worlds, I'm a kinder, gentler guy, right? And I don't generally go out and kill bad guys unless they're bent and determined to kill me. So it's usually open season on illagers and pillagers, not villagers. But other stuff, just stay away from me and we'll call it good. But I was in the Nether, and I was returning to my portal, and I heard piglin noises, and I went up there, and there was a young piglin there, and I just went into my wolf mode for Vintage Story. And what that means is, in Vintage Story, you might find a wolf pack, and they got some cubs. You kill the adults, you kill the cubs too, because if you don't kill the cubs, they will soon grow up into adults, and you're right back to where you started a minute ago, right? So if you kill all of them, the game will definitely make more, but you will breathe easier for a while. So that's the mode I was thinking and acting in. And so when I saw that piglin kid, I pulled an Anakin Skywalker and killed the youngling. And even as I struck the final blow, I realized what I was doing. It's too late at that point, and I felt bad. That's not the type of person I am. But again, you know, you when you're like in this type of environment where you're fighting for survival, it's literally kill or be killed, and it's a very different set of very different equation when you're talking about the values, right? I mean, we live in the Pacific Northwest, so they've been reintroducing wolves and bears to the mountains and stuff for a long time, and every time they release them into a new area, this is Pete. Well, for Pete's sakes. Oh, gosh. Great. Mark it. Put it on the map. Anyhow, so every time they release more wolves or bears into areas where they haven't been for a while, then there's a big controversy, right? And, you know, if you are, you know, just saying, hey, I want the world to be more natural and stuff. I want a better ecological balance in our living space, right? I want to try to kind of repair the damage we've done, and I'm all for that. I get that. I hear you. And so let's put the bears and the wolves back. But on the other hand, when bears and wolves become ingrained in that area, right? What if you are a rancher and you got cows or sheep in that area? Well, from a bear or wolf perspective, you're running a 7-Eleven, and they can stop by for a quick snack. And so for those people, their opinion about releasing these animals back in the wild completely different. And when you consider that, you know, ranching and farming, it's kind of a boom or bust type of thing. There are good years and there are bad years. And the good years don't come often enough to always cover the bad years. So same thing with ranching. If you have a number of livestock and you lose quite a few of them all in a full swoop to a wolf pack or a couple bears or something, that could make the difference between breaking even and losing money. And losing money could make the difference between keeping your farm and, you know, going out to be a barista someplace. And these are important farms because, you know, unless you are a vegan, we rely on the products that they produce. So it gets really complicated. And my point in all of that is that, you know, when you're playing Minecraft and a game suitable for young children, and, you know, the wolves and the pigs, even though there's some death and harvesting involved there, it's kind of like almost Disneyfied, right? It's like something in a Disney movie and it's abstracted away. In this game, it's much more in your face, and you know, the reason for it is clearer, more severe, right? Again, kill or be killed. So there you go. It changes your point of view. And that's an interesting thing. I mean, yeah, we're talking about a game, but, you know, one of the problems we have in our world with people being hostile to other people is that a lot of times the hostility comes from the fact that they're hostile to this other person's way of life or outlook, when in fact they don't really know anything about this other person. I mean, they maybe like for example, there are tons and tons and tons of Muslim people in the United States and Canada, and they're just living their lives. But when you talk to people who aren't Muslims, a lot of times they get, kind of scared and freaking out a bit talking about Sharia law. Well, there are Muslims who follow Sharia law, but that's not all Muslims. And I would probably hazard to guess that Sharia law probably comes in different flavors too, right? So there's like the hardcore, and then there's the Sharia light. And but they make these assumptions, and they start getting hostile toward these people. And then but once they actually know somebody who's Muslim, once they like work with somebody or hang out with somebody or friends with somebody, then they actually learn more about this person and their culture and their outlook and stuff. And then the fear goes away, usually. That's a good thing, right? Uh-oh. There we go. Oh, I threw away my stone. There we go. So, that's what I'm saying, right? There are multiple ways to look at all this stuff, and being more familiar with the different sides of each of these questions or issues will reveal an interesting perspective, right? You're going to understand the people on the other side of this thing a lot better, and why they feel the way they do, why they act the way they do, why they say the things they do. Doesn't necessarily mean they're right, but I mean, I can assure you that they certainly feel that they're right based off of their perspective. And I would argue that based on their perspective, maybe they are right. Maybe based on all the different perspectives, they might be wrong, but see, not only is it a learning opportunity for you, it should be a learning opportunity for them too. Anyway, coming off my soapbox. Now, different trees, just like in real life, come in different shapes. Now, we got a lot of maple trees here. I'm really surprised that they haven't put in syrup, right? Like, we have resin that we can pull off pine trees. I'm surprised we can't, like, score these or tap these maple trees and get syrup out of them. But there are a lot of maple trees around here. And the different trees have different shapes, just like they kind of do in real life. But sometimes these different shapes, there might be an exceptional tree, right? And what I'm saying is I've seen oak trees that are huge compared to like the oak trees I can plant. I don't think I can grow those from seeds, but if you get one of those, man, they produce a massive amount of logs. And that's important because when it comes time to making leather, oak we'll go through a lot of oak logs, right? Because that's what we use to make tannin. Tannin is part of the chemical process that softens the hides into leather. Besides the fact that Tannin is the last name of Biff from Back to the Future, which really has no bearing on this, but if you thought the name sounded familiar, that's why. That and the fact that one of Biff's best lines is, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? Oh gosh. It turns out that the guy who plays Biff is probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Funny, intelligent. It's just that for most people, 99% of the people who know who Biff is, that's the only role they know this guy from, which is too bad. I think that's one of the dangers in Hollywood is if you have a breakout role and you really carry it off well, from now on, that's how people view you. And if you do get another role, it's going to be based off of what people perceived of you from the first role, right? You really have to be lucky as an actor to get a role that is completely different from anything you've done so that you can show your true range, which is great for expressing yourself as an artist, but it's also great for feeding your family as somebody earning money. So Yep. Speaking of breakout role and, feeding your family, thank you for those of you who have, over the past couple years, who have subscribed and continue to watch these videos. Thank you. We're in the home stretch toward full monetization. And, I don't think it's realistic to think that this will replace my day job, but I'm coming up on the end of my working career anyway, so I do think that this channel has the potential to hasten the day that I can walk away from my day job. And so anybody who does anything to help me toward that path, I heartily thank you, right? I mean, whether it's just a thumbs up on a video or a comment or a subscription, better yet, a channel membership, any of that stuff, deeply appreciated. Thank you very much. So, we got a bunch of clay now with these limestone stones. We are continuing our creation of cobblestone, and it's still 15 degrees Celsius out there at night. That's it's nice. I mean, come winter, I'd be happy to have half of that. But it's going to be like 4 in the morning. Yeah, 4 in the morning. And that sounds like it should be dark, but guess what? This time of year, ta-da! Still kind of bright enough. So crops are still coming along. We've got the tower outlined. We'll set down these blocks. In Minecraft, if I have water next to a 1-block wall like this, I couldn't climb over it. So I'm wondering if that's the case here. And here we are. The estate so far. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Yeah, I need some new duds too, because these ones are looking a little worn. But I am in a pretty part of the country, I'll tell you that. So we made progress. And I want to thank you for joining me on our march towards self-sufficiency and maybe the transition from survival to thriving. I hope you come back for the next episode. And until that happens, I hope this finds you and yours in good health, good spirits, and perhaps a touch of good fortune. Cheers.